ponder this for a second. When a card is not a card, it is truly a card. Today on Secondhand Noobs. Jer Noobs with you here on Secondhand Noobs, and I'm going to try to give some secondhand thoughts. This was from the episode I dropped a couple days ago on the terms of kusala and akusala. Now, the takeaway, in my opinion, skillful and unskillful, is actually being skillful and unskillful. What do you mean by that, Jer? Good question. There's a thing called an alpha privative. And what an alpha privative does is it negates or opposes the word that doesn't have the A in it. Akusala, unskilled. And this is really simple. Just got to look at it, say like agnostic, not Gnostic. Well, what does Gnostic actually mean? Gnostic actually means to know. To know. Noistikoi. That's what the Greeks brought us. And they have a couple of other words that I think we could utilize these days. One is arche, and one is epiron. Remember that what I do here on Secondhand Noobs is I drop words. I don't explain them, I just drop them. Because noodlers love this stuff. Got an AI device? You got a talking dictionary? You like to read it? Then you're a noodler. And blessed are the noodlers. These cards are marked. They're a mess. This is because history is a mess. Now, there was a song back in the 60s by the Beatles called Helter Skelter. All of us old rock and rollers know that tune. And we know certain people decided to use that song in a negative fashion. We call that dark, okay? Mystery-filled. And then, several years after that, another great rock and roll group called U2 said they were going to take that song back because that song belongs to us. So today, I'm going to take back a word. W-O-K-E. Woke. I will give a definition on this particular W-O-K-E because it's been taken so out of context by the right-wing liberals. Why can I call them liberal? Because they're spreading a very liberal definition of what that word means. Now, I'm going to break a rule here, just like with nostokoi, and I'm going to tell you the truth about woke. Okay, woke takes a little time. Matter of fact, it takes a long time. Trust me, I know. The first step in wokeness is asceticism. Do you know what that is? Look it up. And if you go way back in the day, I mean way back probably from the beginning, your typical ascetic would do this in a cave. And in a cave, you get acoustics. And acoustics create sound. That's called a vibration. So you're sitting there in your cave all day long. All night long. Do you think you're not going to hear voices, sounds, and things that go boom in the night? That bear wants that cave back. Think about it. Now, the bear is really important in this case because the bear represents the dark side, the scary side, The one that's going to get you in your dreams. You know the one. You know the one. Yeah, you do. Work with me here. Work with me. Now, our ascetic does not panic. No, he knows exactly what to do. He needs to get in the flow. Just meditate a little bit. That'll do it. That'll scare that bear away. How long is that going to take? That's my point. It takes a long time. For me, I just decided to do this in my bedroom. I feel safe. I can take on the bears. I can take on the monsters. I have no fear because I'm safe. I'm secure. And I will survive in my Ramada. I even gave it a name. If you look up the word Ramada, you'll see what I'm talking about. Works pretty good. And this gets to my point that I talked about a few episodes back on the effect of cosmic rehab. Once you're woke, you can see the folks that have not been through cosmic rehab. Now, cosmic rehab, that's a word I made up, okay? It's just about generalization. If you look in a generalized cosmic way, you're on your way to deductive reasoning. Because you start great big and you noodle down into that quantum. Right-wing liberals are very confused about this word. And so, if anybody ever discusses wokeness with you, your first question is, how long have you been meditating? Now, I changed that word because, if you want to go new age, you got to have some word changes here. And I use the word meditation a lot, but I've tried to change, important word there, to the word Zoom, because it's 2023. So I can zoom in and I can zoom out. Life is good. The community is comfortable. That many right-wing liberals do not understand the way of free will. Chaos, also known as confusion. I remember Nikki Haley, just a few years ago, was questioned about this. And she was told, "Haley, you're confused." And she said, "No, I'm not confused." I guess we'll get to see in 2023. And we'll know more in 2024. Had to do it. Secondhand noobs. Boom, boom, boom. And now, let's go back to our ascetic example. What do you do when you're sitting there? Well, you think about things. You concentrate about things. And eventually the goal is to concentrate light. That's a big one. That takes a while. But you have to understand, in this system, concentration means to focus. And that's why I call myself a motor. Middle of the road. And that's what woke is. And now you know. How long do you want to go ascetic? How long do you want to sit in that cave? You might want to ask Plato about that, because he's all over this stuff and you don't even know it. That's what class? That's kusala. Dig it. And this is the point that we have to segue into Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. This movie was released in 1920. It wasn't even a talkie. And if you think about Jekyll and Hyde with no words, that's interesting. Somebody should noodle into that one. But the point is that we have a conservative doctor who has a little dark side, little Mr. Hyde in him. And that's what you do in your Zoom. You try to find Mr. or Mrs. Hyde. Or in this case, you could say, they hide. We'll make the changes as necessary. And speaking of changes, this is a good one. It's very simple. If you've ever heard of Heraclitus, you can't step in the same river twice. The Buddha had a much simpler approach. He just said, it's all on fire. Now, you have to kind of read into it because that's what these guys do. See, they're very ascetic, so they hang out there in La La Land and try to explain things that people will never understand. Welcome to my world. Although I do believe people will understand. They're not confused. But anyway, the point is that Dr. Jekyll has this rub in him that makes him want to go out and party, and he doesn't care about anything else but hitting the bars. Okay, that's a shadow. That's Jungian. And once you start to examine the shadow, then you're on your way to being W-O-K-E. It's not easy. It's hard. And you'll find that out after about 5 minutes, because everybody that you talk to that will instruct you will say, just be silent. I'm not that way. My community, which is the voice inside my head that I have all my discussions with, is saying, don't go there. Don't go there. Don't go there. You'll see monsters. Monsters. That's the early projection. Unconscious wants to scare you. Good luck with that one. So, if you want to take a deep dive and an extra credit question I'll throw out here right now is if you know where Heraclitus is from, you've started the journey. And before I get too far away from the fire, let me explain this real quick. The Tathagata, aka the Buddha, said that change is fire. It's in the works.